Hello, everyone. I'm Soda, and I am here with the fabulous Allegra. We are so lucky to have her today, and we are going to talk about how those of us who are creatives can kind of shift our mindsets, be an entrepreneur as well as a creative. And Allegra, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on. Love the fact that we're talking about artists and creatives and people who are just really in their element of genius, right? Their zone of genius, as we say. I'm Allegra. I'm the marketing medulla, and I am a business coach. I'm also a marketing strategist, and I'm a business analyst. So that means I like to dig into your business stuff and see what's working, see what's not, and just really putting all the pieces together to make it work. I work a lot with women entrepreneurs. I really love that because I am one. I work a lot with small businesses as well. So I really dig into the business planning and, making sure that that is in alignment with what your ideas are and making sure you have a marketing strategy so you know who really needs what you have and then getting access to funding. Like there's a lot of money out there, even for artists and creatives now. We've had a new market shift. Creatives are like business owners in a way. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I really do support my clients in finding those objectives and getting them to their goals.
That's so awesome. And if any women entrepreneurs out there want to join your community, where can they find that information? Because I joined like maybe 2 weeks ago and I am obsessed with it. So I need.
Oh, thank you. So to be honest, as a business owner myself and as a woman, I just, really needed a space where I felt safe to promote my business and to also find other women and even men that supported that. And I was using an app called Clubhouse, and it was, still is today, one of the most effective apps that I've ever used to really get to the world and spread my message. And I, make a lot of money using different platforms, but that app was just more of like community. And I found that other women wanted the same thing I wanted. So I built a community from that app. And now we're a business, which thank God we're able to really like push the mission forward and get people aboard on that mission and support individuals like yourself, right? Coming to the community and do different conversations and help you with your business and promote that thing out there as far and wide as we can. But we found, like, as I grew it, it's called Women into Networking Win for anyone who wants to join. And we're on all social media platforms. So just find us, right? We do online events, we do in-person events. And I love it so much because it really does allow us to meet women who are in like feeling like they're in a box, like feeling like they're alone, feeling like they don't really have a space where they're like, no, people don't understand me. And I'm gonna tell you, in this community, like you have said, you find people that are like just like you, that tell you their experiences are similar to yours, that express themselves authentically, where usually people will tell you, like, don't express yourself that way. And that's a limitation. And so we just really have an open door policy. And yeah, that's what the community is about. So anyone can join, come aboard.
And I'll put links down below to it. So a lot of us who are creatives, whether we're artists or writers or musicians, we think of ourselves just as creatives. And this idea of being a business person is terrifying to us because there's that stigma of the greedy business person or the boring business person or whatever. But in reality, unless you're working for a major studio or something like that, like you are your own business. And how can we kind of shift our mindset to have that mentality better?
That's a great question. I think that as artists and creatives and like my dad, he's an artist, he's a musician. And I deem myself as a musician because I've played, for a while, and that's a form of art. And you have a lot of people that, when it comes to that, it's passion, it's creativity over the business, which is like more like structure, marketing. And so, you got to schedule yourself accordingly. You got to set time blocks, and you got to make sure that you're marketing and promoting a certain way. And so that takes you outside of that creative block. And I think that that is scary for a lot of people who are artists, who's never been taught how to run a business. I think it's scary when you've never been taught about money and what that means to really support your craft and to push it forward. Because what's the point of having all these great ideas and making all this great art if you can't appreciate the fact that your art is valuable enough to charge what it's worth, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. And so I do work with artists and creatives, and it's because they do have struggle around these things, like, how do I write a business plan that matches my idea, that matches what I feel and matches the passion around it? How do I actually put it into writing so that I can see the purpose behind it,
Mhm.
and make a profit? So, that's really, I mean, to get outside of the box is really embodying the fact that you have an art form that people should appreciate and that you should value it enough to put work into it, even if you're not making a business, charge your worth at least.
Yeah, so many artists just undercharge what they're doing and end up, basically paying themselves like $5 an hour or something, which is not okay. You mentioned business plans just a bit ago. Do you mind kind of going over what a business plan is, what content strategy is, and how artists and creatives in general can really put something like that together?
Mhm. I provide something that's always complimentary to anyone, right? It's called a business planning blueprint, and it kind of gives them like an idea of what's in a business plan in a way without having to write one fully out. So I always invite people to get that because it gives you an idea to think about, like, well, what do I want to name my business and what kind of elements go into that business? And what do I want to do moving forward in my business? Do I want to have it for 3 to 5 years? Do I want to structure it so it's legally protected, like an LLC? So those are things that people usually don't think about. It does stretch you outside of your box, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there are like 12 key elements to a business plan. And it always starts with like the executive summary, then it goes to the company description, right? And then you go down to the products and services. So there are elements in your business plan that help you identify, like, what am I going to sell? How am I going to sell it? How am I going to price it? So in a nutshell, without making it long and drawn out, that's a business plan, right? Now, there are different types. So for an artist, I wouldn't suggest going straight to like a elongated business plan that's going to make you feel like you got to do all this work, right? There's something called a lean Canva, and it's a one-page business plan basically. And you can use sticky notes, right? And you can use markers and you can use colorful pens. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of put like this board, right? Like a whiteboard even, to just
Mm-hmm.
create your business plan, but it feels more functionable for you. And I also provide a download for that. So those are the suggestions I would have for anyone, looking to start on a planning process.
I love those suggestions. And yes, I've found so many awesome free sources out there to just kind of get you started when you have no idea what's going on. For those of us who really do want to get serious about this, but the idea of just studying so much business strategy and all that, like it could be really overwhelming. And I wanted to ask, what are some benefits of really reaching out to a professional like you when we do want to really be ambitious and make what we love an actual business and using the knowledge that you've acquired over the years?
For my particular business and services, I would say be mentally ready. Like, people that come into my programs and services, they bet on themselves every time, right? There's no fear around like, I got to show up here or I got to do this type of work. So there are some different elements to building a business. Like, there's mindset issues. Like, so Sometimes
Mhm.
we have mindset blocks that stop us from doing things, even though we know we have to do them. That's a whole nother area, right? So I always have a mindset coach I refer my clients to, and I say, go work on your mindset and see what it is about you that you are struggling with, that you can kind of remove those blocks. And that's if you want to work on that. For a lot of people who are like, okay, well, I'm ready to go, right? And they're in that place where they're like, I'm ready to do this, and I'm going to bet on myself, right? Um, I would say, first of all, decide on why you want to have a business. Like, that's first and foremost, because everybody doesn't want to have a business. Some people just want to make money. And then, think about, like, as far as the process, take it one step at a time. Like, some people try to digest everything at once. And for a coach, we will walk you through a process. And what most people, when they come to me, the biggest disqualifier is when they're like, I want to get it done now.
Mm,
And it doesn't happen overnight.
yeah.
It is not a process where, so in order to work with a coach, you have to be willing to, number one, bet on yourself, be able to take it step by step, not be so quick to digest it all, and then allow yourself to go through different challenges and failures. And the benefit of having a coach like myself is that I'm going to hold you accountable. Every single week I meet with my clients, and they have assignments that they go through, and we go through those challenges, we go through the successes, and then we move on to the next thing. And
Mhm.
what you find at the end of the day is that even though they felt a certain way throughout the process, even though they may have, failed a little bit or felt like they failed, there is no such thing. And maybe they felt like they struggled a little bit, right? But at the end of the day, they see the results. And that's all
Mhm.
that matters. And so that's what the benefit of working with the coach is, that you can really feel like you're not alone, that you have someone supporting you, that you get all the resources and tools that that coach already has provided, like in my programs. And you don't have to feel so stressed out when you need to talk to someone about what's going on in your business. That coach should be able to support you and be able to give you those answers that you need when you need them.
I love what you said about having someone that could support you, because a lot of people who do go into the arts, they come from a family or a friend group that tells them like, oh, you can't make money as an artist. You should just stick with something safe, and can be very discouraging. And I understand where they're coming from, because honestly, only a certain percentage of artists actually end up succeeding, having a full-time career. And the ones that do succeed, they're usually the people with a very ambitious, determined personality. So, what would you say are the characteristics of someone who can succeed as a creative entrepreneur?
Well, I think first of all, just kind of backing up to what you said about people being discouraged, as a creative and as artists, um, just know that's everyone. That is, and I think that we feel that way because in the past, art hasn't been appreciated as far as the artist is concerned the way that it needed to be, right? It was undervalued for the most part, right? But now we're in a different world. Like we have in the pandemic, NFTs became, super popular. So a lot of artists started to use their craft to really start to gear into the digital market, right? So that increased their profitability. A lot of artists started to, do more graphic designs for marketing, right? And for people who were starting businesses, logo designs, graphics for websites and things like that. So I think that the ability to shift
Uh-huh.
and to know where to take your art and how to use it is really important. So that is one way a coach can help you. But I will say, moving forward, when it comes down to being able to get past the fear of anyone doubting you or not betting on you, right, is the fact that you have to know it's going to happen forever. It's never going to change. People are always going to doubt you. They're always going to tell you, why are you doing that? That doesn't seem right. there's always going to be that. But the best part is that as you develop your craft and as you still do the work and as you still stay focused on what it is that you need to do, you'll find that you'll turn those non-believers into believers, right? People that were like, oh, you shouldn't do that. The next thing you know, they'll be your biggest fans because they're like, oh, I knew you could do that way back when. But you gotta be able to prove it to them first, right? And
Mhm.
it's not because you need validation. It's because people don't see until they believe. And so you have the vision. You're the one with it, right? And most people, when they tell you you can't do something, it's because they have the fear of doing it themselves. So it's just a reflection of who they are. And so, as a creative, as an artist, or anyone in business, I always encourage people to just focus on what you're doing, right? Go
Mhm.
to work, make sure that you're taking care of yourself every single day. And anyone who doubts you, that's outside of your bubble. That doesn't have anything to do with you. And if you can stay focused that way until you get to that goal, then you'll be fine.
So a
Mhm.
lot of creatives are kind of coming from a place where they don't have very much money. They maybe just finished school, or maybe they couldn't afford school and are being self-taught and are struggling a little bit financially. And we know that you have to invest into your business in order to grow, but we also want to be responsible with our money. How do we know what to invest in, what we should do ourselves, what we should outsource to someone else? Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, see, money is it's an object, right? Like it's just a value exchange. And so when I think about uh, having money to make money, there's so many ways to get it. Like, I mean, there really are. And so having the knowledge of where to get the money is really first step. Like most people don't know, like if you go to your local SBA and you start asking for, different opportunities of funding and saying like, what do I need to do to get qualified to have this level of funding? This is why I started to really work specifically with women entrepreneurs first. And I also work with a lot of Black business owners because they have a lot of funding that is on the table and is never picked up, right? Like we don't really know where to ask. And sometimes we don't like to ask. So when we get to, our local SBAs and start reaching out and saying, where's the money? Like where, like look at your local banks, your CDFIs, like all of the areas, like a lot of I can say in the past year, I've started to get more of my clients that are women into government contracting opportunities because it's like this small money ain't making no money. Like we got to get some big money in here. And so what does that look like for you? You have an opportunity as an artist, as a creative, to take your craft to the next level if you really want to protect it as an asset with a business. And that's all you're doing. You're giving yourself an opportunity to say, I'm not going to waste this. I'm going to make the money that I need, and I'm going to ask for that money and say, this is what my plan of action is. And so that's why I work with people with business plans, because when people give you money, they want to make sure you got that serious plan in place. So yeah, I would just say there's money out there. And if you feel like you want to do it yourself, right? And if you're like, I'm not really in that place where I want to ask for like loans or grants or, go out there and, actually like make this a serious business. And maybe you just want to make money, as a craft for you and just as a side business or a side hobby. I don't know. There are many ways you can do it and still make money off of it. But you have to know why you want to do it, and that's important. I always want to go back to that. But I think the reason why we struggle around money is because number one, we may not know why we're doing it, so when we ask for money we feel guilty because we're like, oh, that may be too much to ask for. And then people start asking questions like, well, do you have a business? Do you do this? Do you do that? And it makes people feel guilty because they're like, well, I don't have a business. So know why you're doing it and be sure about that, because there's no shame in getting paid for what the work that you do. And then also, I think that a lot of times when artists need money, um, it's because they, like you asked me about content marketing, right? And what that is and content strategy. Well, right now, if you have anything in your possession, like for example, I visited a gentleman who had all this jewelry that he made, from his hands, crafted jewelry with real, like, pieces from the earth, like gems and golds and, just silver and metals. Beautiful pieces, absolutely beautiful, very unique, custom made. And people were just like begging him for these pieces, right? And
Hmm.
they would, like, he would get phone calls all the time. He'd be like, when are you going to get the piece made? When are you going to do this? And I asked him, I said, what is holding you back from getting the money from people? Because you already have pictures. And if someone wants to order a piece, all you have to do is put it on Etsy, put it on a website, put it on your social media, share it to their DMs, right? And if you have a link for them to buy, they can buy it. I said, if you put that system in play, how much money do you think you would make? And he calculated it, and he was like, I could quit my job. I could do this, I could do that. So a lot of times artists just don't know how to market or where to put their stuff.
Hmm.
So that's also where you get to, okay, I know that I don't make a lot of money right now, but if I take $1,000 or if I take $500, right, and I invest it into this process, whether it's getting a coach, getting a marketing agency, or whatever, knowing that you've done your vetting process, knowing that you see the testimonials, knowing that you know someone that they've gotten results for, right? Don't just put your
Hmm.
money wherever. But if you invest that, that is an investment. It's not spending money. So we have to rearrange the thought process about what money is. But I would just say there's a lot of money out there. There's no scarcity, you know.
Yeah, definitely that fear of scarcity, especially now that with all the AI stuff going on with creatives, we feel we tend to undervalue ourselves because we think because there is just so much out there. But I think it's important that, like what you said, thinking of the why you're doing something. And I think that people are recognize that you do have a genuine why, and they will be attracted to you. How important has it been for you as a businesswoman, having your own business yourself? How important has networking and collaborating with other people with a like how do I say it? A similar mindset to you. How has that helped you grow?
Oh, immensely. It's definitely been a pivotal part for my business because when I didn't have a lot of like-minded individuals around me, it was a distraction every
Mm-hmm.
single time. If I wanted to start a project or do anything that was new or innovative, it wasn't. You want to have people around you that are going to encourage you, that are going to say, yeah, I believe in you. You can do it. You want to have people around you that are going to give you resources that are going to help you push that mission forward. You want people around you that may even be able to give you money for that thing. Like I wanted to network with people for a long time that could really be a good positive add or multiplication to my business and my life. And networking with the right people have got me there, right? Because I could network with anybody. Like sometimes like I found myself networking with people, and it's because I thought they were cool people. Like I was like, girl, you are so cool. Like, let me network with you. But they weren't good for me and what I was doing,
Yeah.
So I call it effective networking, and that's why the WIN community has grown the way it had, because I was like, well, I know I can network with anyone, but this has got to be about real change and real, support. And so that's how I network, and I think that it has grown my business more than I've ever been able to grow it myself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking about the partnership that I had with people in the past, thinking about the traffic that has come through the WIN community just to support my business, because they're like, oh, well, what else do you do? To see I mean, because of the community, I was able to get major partnerships with big companies like ADP and Bank of America and Verizon, and a couple of retail vendors that I partnered up with, like Tote and Carry. So there's been a great success when it came down to networking and just being out there in these huge groups of individuals that were doing things. And yeah, I think without it, I wouldn't be as successful and at this point right now.
I love your group so much. I feel like just again, since I started, I feel like I've gotten so much value just being around all these powerhouse women. It's been amazing. Last question. For someone who's just starting out and not hasn't quite built up the confidence yet and still a little confused about what they want to do. They know they want to do something with their creative talent, their creative skills, and they feel stuck. What is the best advice, the best next step that they should do at this point?
Feeling stuck. Well, as a creative, you got to remember that you're creative. Like, I mean, you're going to always feel like creating, and number one, I think that we have to kind of structure ourselves when we're that way, right? And say, well, what's getting me stuck? Like, what is it that I'm actually experiencing right now that is stopping me from moving forward? And that one question right there, just thinking about that sometimes will get us to stop and say, well, I don't really have a structure, or I don't really have a schedule, or I don't really have help, or I don't have this. So it gets us to really realize what it is that we don't have, which gets us to the next step of what it is that we need. And when we realize what we need, that's where the braveness comes from. That's when we start to say, okay, can we ask for this? One of the biggest things that you do in business that a lot of people struggle with, not just creatives, is delegation, right? Knowing how to take some work that we have, that we're doing, that we feel good about, like our businesses are our baby. So, our art is our baby, our creations are our baby. So it's like you now have to take that and delegate it to someone else and say, can you do it like me? Can you do it exactly how I do it? And so we have to be able to relay that information correctly. And then we have to be able to, delegate it and check it, checks and balances, like, did they do it right? Do I need to correct their actions? So I think, for a lot of creatives, just making sure that you already have like a very successful mindset around what it is that you want in your life first and foremost. And if you are a beast in that, if you're like, no, I know that I'm made for this, I know this is my craft, I know I love what I do, right? You shouldn't have any doubt in your mind that you're going to be successful in what you do. There's no one that can do it like you. So even in a market of all these people that are out here promoting on social media, and you feel like they're doing the same thing you do, they are not you. So you have to just kind of show up as who you are and don't worry about the rest, because, the people who are designated for you are going to gravitate to you. And I see a lot of artists that are afraid to, be out there. They like to put their work in the forefront rather than themselves. And I believe that that is the ultimate difference for people who are ultimately successful at it and people who are just kind of like, yeah, I'm an artist and I'm not really making a lot of money. Okay. Be bold about it, be different, be okay being yourself, and just make sure no matter what happens that you don't listen to anyone but the people who are celebrating you and what you already know your vision is aligned with. So that's what I would say. And, definitely connect with me. I have discovery calls and, things that I can kind of provide as a resource, complimentary, to make sure that you have that starting point to start thinking on these things, because it can, kind of be a stress in a lot of people's minds, because it's like, okay, this is a journey. And, but remember, we're always on a journey and everything you do is a choice.
Amen. I love that. I love that. And thank you again for meeting with me today. Just in this conversation, I've learned a lot. So I'm hoping anyone else who's watching, I'm sure you've learned something too. And I will see you again next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.